Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Momentum Fitness Podcast. And today my special guest is Mr. Ray Yong. Now Ray is an osteopath and he's a movement and exercise specialist from London. He runs his own therapy and training facility in North London, and I've known him for quite a few years. He's the ultimate professional, totally dedicated to what it is he does, and he really will help you get the very, very best from your body. He's highly trained, highly skilled, and not only that, but he's just he's an absolutely great person to know. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Ray Yong.
I'm loving the full-on beard.
Yes, man. Full-on Viking.
I know, it's great. It's great.
Oh dear, my books have fell off. Right? Oh, I've got too many books. My books and my plant just fell off.
Oh no! Okay, go save your plant.
That's live for you, isn't it? Eh? Look.
Man, go save your plant.
No, that's done. The plant's
Oh
broke.
no!
Yeah.
Ah.
Look at it, Ray. Look.
Well, see if you can get a cutting. We've been like during lockdown. We've been kind of like trying to support the life of plants. I'm not very good at it, but we're trying.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, you know, it does change your house, doesn't it? It's like, that's my wife's doing at the end of the day. It's just trying to keep as many plants around the house, be in touch with nature as much as possible, go out in the garden. I
think that's a really good point, you know. That's why why I've got a plant in my shed. It's the it's the CO2 emissions from the plant, isn't it? It's good for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, oxygen, not CO2.
Well, it's sucking up all the oxygen. You and I, we talk too much, don't we?
We do. We do, mate. We definitely do. I'm just shutting down anything that can go off or go wrong.
Ah, you're looking well though, my friend.
Cheers, man. So are you.
Well, trying.
Just over your left shoulder there, Ray, you've got a really bright light.
Ah, do you want me to turn it off?
See what it's like. Turn it off and see what it goes like. You might need to just turn it round to face the wall or something, so it's not shining off your lovely silky smooth head there, Ray.
You know what? No.
I lost you a bit there, Ray. Yep, I've definitely lost you. I lost you a bit there. My connection goes on and on. Oh, that's better. That's better. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, I lost you a little bit there. My connection, I'm down the end of the garden, Ray, in a shed. Obviously, you can see it's not the latest state-of-the-art recording studio or anything. But so we lose connection every now and again. If it does, just leave it. It'll come back on. And sometimes it does, sometimes it don't. So
well, I'm the same as you. I built a during lockdown, like I needed an office to be able to do all my video consultations with patients. So we built a log cabin in the back of the garden.
Yours looks so much better than mine. Yours is proper.
Yeah, well, I mean, like I tell you what, it was hard work. That's all I can say. But it's good to work with your hands, like outside of just treating people, if you know what I mean.
Functional exercise, right? Proper functional exercise.
Well, it's just, you know what, a little bit of mindfulness as well. Apart from, the only problem is that this is a full-on wooden log cabin.
Yeah.
And it's the day that we got it delivered. It was 3 months being delivered.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the day that it decided to be delivered, even though the wood was treated, the heavens opened for about 3 to 4 days solid. It was that first week of October when it was just kept pouring with rain constantly. Okay, and so all of the wood, even though it was pressure treated, expanded. So it took me about 4 times the amount of time to build this place.
What is it? I honestly have never known a time with so much rain, unless I've been in another country, obviously somewhere, you know, in the tropics or something. But the amount of rain we've had this year is it's unbelievable. Actually, we've got a problem in our loft. and the entire loft is covered in water at the moment. I think we're going to have our roof done, but it's bad.
Like, not to be of any sort of pun, but it's the raining, pouring synonym, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it is. It's a weird time. We're all locked down and we're covered in rain. We're lucky though, because a lot of people are snowed in, aren't they, around the world at the moment?
Yeah, they are indeed. They are indeed. But
anyway,
it's good to see your podcasts and your videos. Seeing you exercise in there, which is nice.
Man, I tell you what. Yeah, I tell you what, Ray. I've done a lot of movement work over the last sort of 5 to 10 years. Let's say 10 years, right? So I've been on a bit of a journey with my sort of therapy background for the last 10 years. But I put so much work into helping other people. I haven't really done enough for myself. And being in the lockdown has really kind of woke me up. Now, I think some people would be happy with a level of exercise, but I'm not. I always want to get back to what I used to be when I was, 25, 30, because I do. In fact, I want to be better than that. And, I might not be able to move better, but strength wise and, just be as good as I can. And you know what? I always wanted to do a really good kettlebell certification.
Yeah.
And I tried to do strong first a couple of times, and it didn't go well. I kept getting injured.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so my programming was wrong. I wasn't strong enough. I hadn't fixed a lot of mobility problems. So I said to myself that during lockdown, I'm going to train this year and get myself to the RKC, Russian Kettlebell Challenge certification, which will happen in this country around June, July. Fingers crossed. Well, I'm going to swear now. Fuck me, that is so hard, man. I haven't realised how out of condition I am. I'm telling you, I've had to fix or try to fix along the way so much stuff, Ray.
15 years ago, Kesh.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot about Kesh.
Yeah, Kesh. Him and I were kind of messing around with the kind of Duravoid kettlebell competition type stuff. And the long cycle of the kettlebell swing stuff and everything like that. And yeah, it just brings me back to the time of 2 24 kilogram kettlebells in both hands, literally just cleaning them for 10 minutes straight. You could put it down like maybe once or twice just to rest, but like just the long cycles was just
killer.
Hard work, really hard work, but it was good fun as well. It's like it's kind of like I would equate it to kind of like you have to go into the mindset of like long distance running. You just have to put your brain somewhere else and really focus on kind of breathing and really trying to cut the pain into your mind.
Same here. Yeah,
quite a mindful process.
Yeah. Do you know what? You're hitting the nail on the head with everything you're saying, because I've really come full circle with my training. I mean, this has been so, I'm not saying everybody should go out and do kettlebells. It's whatever you enjoy doing, but make it like, I wanted to make it really challenging. So I weren't just getting fit. I don't want to run a marathon. I've got no interest in running marathons. I couldn't do one anyway. I just wouldn't want to do it. But to me, getting a certification in the RKC, or just getting to that level, if I don't get the certification, don't worry. But if I get myself to that level, I know that I've got to improve so much stuff. And I'm not just focusing on losing weight or getting my knee joint better. I've got to focus on the whole thing to get me there. So I'm going to shut.
You've been picking up old Pavel Tatsulin's books again and kind of like going over some of his stuff. I just read one of his books. It's called The Quick and the Dead.
Yeah, it's good.
All about the power training cycles and stuff. And they use some of it in the Strong First certification.
I'm do.
Not quite sure, but it was nice to listen back and just dip my toe back into kind of like the heavy training.
Well, I've like you, over the years, you get into systems, you go through them a little bit, but you don't always go fully into everything, because it's very difficult to do that. I did it with my martial arts and certain other things, but you can't do it with everything. You pick certain things and you go really in depth with it. That's what I think. And then as a professional, you try lots of things and you become maybe okay, so you've got an understanding, so you can help other people, and your brain gets tuned into different ways of thinking about things. But it's like when I went to learn the SFMA, the FMS SFMA.
Yeah.
For people who don't know what that is, that's the functional movement system and the selective functional move. Is it selective? Selective function? Yeah.
Yeah.
Selective functional movement system assessment. Yeah. And like I really studied that, like for 3 years. I did it all the time, and I got really, really, really good at that, and I didn't need much else. But then when I learned other types of assessment, I kind of took bits from it, but didn't really dive into it. And then I did the same with FRC. I got really into that, but then I didn't, maybe not quite as much into, like, I didn't do kin stretch. And so anyway, look, this is about you mainly.
Okay.
So what I want to do is, first off, this is Raymond Yong. Raymond is Ray, you're an osteopath.
I'm indeed.
Introduce yourself, Ray. So what are your, how would you introduce yourself to someone who doesn't know what you do, say a member of the public, and you want to explain to them, like, you don't have to say I've got a master's degree in this and that, basically what is it you do?
Okay, I mean, like, to sum it up, I'd say I'm a specialist sports osteopath. I've, like, my real passion and key is helping people with movement and lifestyle medicine, to be completely honest.
Okay.
Like, I like, even though, like, we talk about the game of enjoying movement and making ourselves better with movement, whether it's improving strength or improving how you move, and just helping people enjoy a better quality of life within the body that they inhabit. But like, also, yeah, like I like to call it health medicine, because I mean, lifestyle health medicine. That's the way to do it, because like nowadays, people need to be taught and learn and coach on what's healthy for your body nowadays. There's so much information out there, and so many people get confused, and so many people, like, you read the headlines in various newspapers, it's always to get some sort of kind of dramatic effect going, one day walnuts are good for you, and then the next day walnuts are bad for you, and then one day coffee is good for you, and then the next day coffee is bad for you. And it's like I equate this whole thing to kind of like politics nowadays. It's like, every information around the whole of the world, or the Western society now, is all based around like an overflow of information. And I guess one of the things that we try to do at our clinic is get people to learn how to trust themselves again, and to trust their own experience, and to use themselves as their guinea pig to a certain degree, because everyone's truth for themselves is their own, and you may be able to help people from the experience that you've had, but until you've gone through a process and experienced it, you're not really going to get yourself healthier and better, because you don't genuinely and authentically know what's right for you unless you've tried it.
Yeah, I mean, for the people that are getting into this stuff now, when I was younger, when you was younger, I had to either get something from a library, or I saw something in a magazine, and then you had to go and find the person that could do what you wanted to learn, and you had to stay with them. You had to learn from them. And do you think that's a big problem nowadays? I mean, as you said, Ray,
I still think there's a huge need for that. I don't think Google Doctor is the way forwards. And like, the amount of how may I put it, the amount of long conversations I've had with patients in the past, to kind of like, I really do think that so much of society is based around kind of too much fear, and what we call at the clinic negative motivation. It's like, oh, you need to do this because this catastrophe is going to happen if you don't do it.
Yeah.
Or you need to do this because this other catastrophe is going to go and happen to you. You see it in the news. It's like people go, oh, you shouldn't be eating too much sugar because you're at risk for diabetes, rather than, you know, and there is truth there. But like, even though people know this fact or have heard it on the news, okay, like, you know, look at the incidence of diabetes in this country over the last 30 years. It's
through the roof.
It's gone up. Like, I think since the 1980s to recently, I think it's gone up about, like, the percentage of the population with type 2 diabetes has gone up something like 3 to 5%.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Okay, and that's percentage of population. It's not even numbers of people.
No.
Like, and the strain on the National Health Service is, I think it's about over $1 billion a year to support the needs of those with type 2 diabetes. So the message has been out there in terms of you shouldn't be eating too much sugar.
I mean, I mean, I know because I'm having a problem along those lines as well with insulin resistance, which is kind of like your first, you know, before you go pre-diabetic and then type 2 diabetic. And it's something that I've looked into a hell of a lot. And it's like when, like, do you think people are trying to do diets, but yet they just, and this is a Google thing again, they just go and follow a diet when it's nothing that can help your body in the state that you are in right now. If you're not tested properly, it could be completely the wrong diet, couldn't it?
I mean, like, the one thing that I find personally with things like diets, okay, is the very first thing that everyone, like, so we like with the lifestyle medicine thing, okay, that we prescribed. I mean, I like to call it lifestyle medicine because then people actually connect to it instead of functional medicine, or, you know, instead of integrative medicine. The reality of it is it's lifestyle medicine because it's based upon the choices that you make as a human being on a day-to-day basis. And the problem that I see with lots of people when they come for a lifestyle medicine assessment at our clinic, all right, is they're going, well, what about this supplement? Or what about this? Or what about this? And then you look at their diet and the fundamentals aren't there. Okay.
They
eat the right type of food. They don't eat when they should eat. Okay. And they don't, and, you know, and then it all streams from there. And I don't believe nowadays that it's an issue with regards to cognitive dissonance, in the sense that people don't know what to do. But I do believe that the other factors in our lives seriously influence the choices that we make. Like, and what I mean by the other factors, and factors that are not so tangible, but they still impact our lives hugely, like stress, like you know, emotional balance. I mean, you know, we like burnout from work, like work-life balance, like human connection. Like, so, you know, like all of these things, they really seriously impact like behavior. And like, and you can't castigate people for not adhering to good lifestyle choices if they're using it as a coping mechanism for the things in their life that need addressing at one point or another. But then, you know, you look at all of these different factors and it just becomes overwhelming for so many people if they don't know where to start. And this is the point that I'm saying, and it's for this reason why I feel that you should go to a specialist and just have a conversation about things if you want to know where to start, because the hardest part is getting yourself started initially. And it's so overwhelming with all of the choices that you can make and where you can do it and how you can do it. And like, it's great because there's many ways in through the front door.
Do you think people are put off because, like, again, if I go back 30 years, there was only a couple of people you could go and train with, and sometimes you had to travel to different places, or you know, there was only a few. There was one physio, you know, there may have been an osteo or a chiropractor, but I could be wrong because I'm only seeing it through my eyes, but I'm fairly certain, you know, you wasn't swamped with the amount of people that you can choose from now. I mean, do you think there's too many people practicing?
I mean, like, you know what? I watched your podcast with Luke, which I really enjoyed last week.
Good.
Okay, and the reality of it is that the ones that know what they're doing will still remain. Okay, and you know, when I mean the ones that know what they're doing, there's two aspects. Number one is from a therapeutic aspect. If you're an excellent therapist, then you will stay in business. Okay, if you're an excellent marketer, you will stay in business. Okay, anyone in between, it's going to be a challenge, and you know that's the reality of it. And so you make the choice about whether you want to be a great therapist or whether you want to be a great marketer. And you know, like that's just my opinion from what I'm seeing in the therapy world at the moment. And then sometimes there's, you know, there's both, which is where you see people explode. Okay, and I mean, genuinely, they can make a huge impact on the health and well-being of other people, which is, you know, why I follow certain people, because I like, that's what we're in the profession to do, is to help people at the end of the day. You know?
Yeah. So how do you think this is, you know, there's going to be some people out there kind of listening and they're going to be saying, but Ray, you know, I'm trying to do everything I can and I can't get clients, I can't get people to train. You know, what kind of advice? I mean, you're still open, Ray, are you, in London? Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're still open and you're obviously seeing people at the moment. It's going, yeah, it's going okay for you. Okay.
Well, in like a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's work, because I mean, like, we have a really, really stringent safety and hygiene protocol at the clinic. So, you know, like, every conscientious healthcare practitioner will be doing is, you know, we're having to triage your patients. So we're having to call them anything from 7 days to a day before their appointment, just to screen them to find out whether they're suited to come into the clinic. Because if they just go, I've hurt my toe and it's swollen, then we're going to be like, well, it might be a better idea for you to jump on for a video consultation, so we can actually, I can just look at it via video consultation and give you some advice about how to treat it. It's just a bit of swelling. This is what you're going to do to manage it. You know, it's the people that really need to come into the clinic that we're seeing at the clinic at the moment. You know, the ones that literally get out of bed because their back's gone, you know, that kind of thing. So we're having to do that. We're having to contact them again, and for them to confirm that they've had no symptoms. You know, we're doing the whole medical screen to make sure that they're not living with people that are at risk of catching anything. You know, it's a lot of work. And then, you know, with disinfecting the whole clinic in between each patient, it's like my hands are red raw from bleach and whatnot. Okay, because the whole team's getting stuck in and just making sure that we're just keeping the whole place safe and clean enough. And it's worked great so far. But yeah, it's a lot of work. You know, we're staying open because you know, we're doing the best for the safety of our patients, and then we'll see what happens from there. But you know, it's a struggle. It's tough work. You know, but like it's the training saying as well, you either adapt or you die. So, you know, I'm trying to be one of those businesses that can break through to the end of this year and then hopefully decide, you know.
I think that's the thing. I mean, Luke touched on that when I spoke to him. He said, like, there's people in the fitness industry at the moment who are having it better than they've ever had in their lives, because they've adapted, they've moved to online training. You know, I mean, like for myself, instead of being a static therapist. I've had to go mobile, so I go out and, you know, so I guess similar to what you're saying, it's the person really, you know, if you was going to give a message out to people who are find it difficult, it's probably really about adaptation, isn't it? Finding your way. My other books fell off. That's Stuart McGill's back pain book. Look.
Ah, old Stuart, yes.
Do you like McGill's stuff?
I think he's done some. I think he's done some interesting research. You know, like for me, research, like, you know, science and research is all about questioning and finding your truth. I think he's got a couple of good truths, but then I think other people have good truths as well. You know, it's like I'm less and less now. Like when I was a younger therapist, you know, we always used to go, "Oh, this is the way," or, you know, like I'm far less critical of people and more analytical of like where the value of what they bring can show, you know, because that's, if you want to, like, it's very easy to be some sort of evangelical type therapist to go to castigate other people. And like, I personally feel that the way to move forward as a scientist and as a therapist is to really search to try and find the value in what people present. And then that's your take-home message, because you can get value from any course or bit of information that you get, then it's adding to your therapeutic abilities, isn't it?
I mean,
rather than beating people down and going, "No, this is crap, this is crap, this is a load of rubbish, this is a load of rubbish," you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, how important would you say it is for any physio, osteo, chiropractor, personal trainer, you know, whatever it is, of coming out of their initial training to study, you know, post degree, post, you know, your basic training? How important would you say it is, and how much importance should people put on their continued education? Because some people will just sit back and just rely on what they've done with their degree, and some people will go on to learn other things. What's your opinion about that, about, you know, your like post graduation CPD work?
Neil, it's essential.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even call it into question. You know, I just think it's essential, and I think it should be beyond the continued professional development, minimal basics that what you should do. But what I find is that you genuinely find the people that are authentically interested in their profession from the ones that actually do that. Do you see what I mean?
That's a really good point. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, if you're curious and you're authentically and genuinely interested in what you do, you will just naturally do onto their courses. For me, it's the other way around, actually. It's more a case of my wife going, "Look, you need to balance your life, like in terms of how much you continue developing yourself as a therapist." Because, you know, because there's going to be a balance.
You're doing too much?
Yeah. To be honest. But that's also COVID at the moment. And then, you know, after a year and the dust is settled, then it's about sitting down. Now that you're kind of, I'm acclimatized to the way that the world's going, it's just accepting, right, I'm just going to have to let certain aspects or certain, like, you know, certain financial pressures slide.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have to focus more on my family life and my mental health.
But Ray, isn't this a bit of a trap with people that care, that you go and do 3, 4, 5 years of a degree, or as a personal trainer or whatever it is, you spend a lot of time doing your initial training, and you do become embroiled in this system, and then you are bombarded with so much information, and you then go on a 10-year quest. I know because I've done it, of learning so many different things. And, you know, I think it was Bruce Lee that said, you know, I don't fear the man that can do, you know, 10,000 kicks. I fear the man who's learned one 10,000 times. Because and do you think that we do suffer in the fit pro world and the therapy world for having to learn too much?
I mean, it depends on what you want to do. Do you see what I mean? Because if you want to just be a back specialist, purely backs, then obviously you're narrowing your field, and you're, you know, like you possibly could be able to just find what works for that. I mean, like, I'll be honest with you, that doesn't really interest me from a personal view. But the one thing that I feel like needs to change is because I feel like systems of education need to be changed to a certain degree as well. And I do think, depending on what you want to do and how you want to focus it, I do think it needs to be tailored more. I personally think it might be better for people to have maybe a longer like physiotherapy or osteopathic qualification, where you go, right, these are the fundamentals, so that you can branch off into what you do. And then the final year or two of your degree will be tailoring towards maybe kind of like a sports osteopathy or musculoskeletal osteopathy or visceral osteopathy or that kind of thing, so that you get more specific people guided towards that. I mean, like, people would argue that, well, actually your foundation degree should be that, and then you should, if you really want to know where to find your feet, then you need to do your master's degree. I do think nowadays it's more going towards a master's degree type thing. And, you know, and like you're starting to get the branches of that. You know, you're getting your pain scientists, physiotherapists, you're getting your kind of sports science or, you know, sports medicine physiotherapists and osteopaths. So, you know, it is going that way, but unfortunately it's just a system which is a little biased towards people who are more privileged, I think, if you see what I mean. If you can afford it, then you can do it.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's very true. I mean, you know, we've worked in London, where a lot of, certainly my clients have, you know, they're earning good money, and for somebody to come from a suburb area to pay that kind of money, it's never going to happen, not in a million years. That's not to say we don't do things to help people like that, because we do. But yeah, you're right. What about you know, when we go through school, infants, junior, senior school, we used to call it, like, I don't think I learned, I think I had 2 sex education lessons, right? And I definitely had a few religious education sessions, and I don't think I really had anything that I can remember that explained anything about me, about injuries, about you know, how the body heals and what you should be eating, because if you don't, these things are going to happen. I mean, I don't know. You've got young kids, right?
Yeah.
Yep. So I might be wrong. Maybe nowadays they teach them a little bit more. Or what do you think about that? Teaching the youngsters now?
It's such a difficult thing, Neil, because it's like I personally believe that education is determined by how engaged the teacher can get the children. Okay. And, you know, it's, I mean, it's a really difficult one, Neil, because education is a really tough thing, especially like, you know, preschool, and then you get secondary school. I mean, you know, how many of the kids at secondary school genuinely want to be at secondary school, if you see what I mean? You know what I mean?
Well, I guess you touch on the thing there. I mean, I was thinking along the lines of, you know, trying to keep it simple, like teaching kids to stretch and things before. But then now you've said that, I know how I've taught kids. I taught kids rugby for a time, well, 15-year-olds, and they just want to fuck about most of the time. They don't do it properly, and they're just all over the place because you're right. It is hard to engage them, but
And, with social media and like attention spans reducing even more so, do you know what I mean? It's like, the most of the study does require a level of mindful focus and concentration, and so even those basic skills of focus and retention are evaporating among so many of the kids,
Yeah.
So, it's a bit of a loaded question, but on that sense, yeah, I mean, like the thing is that with, like if we're talking about physical education, okay, again, it depends on the school. It depends on the teachers.
Yeah.
Because my wife is she was a preschool in education preschool, and so they made sure they set up the playground for physical activities. They would have like a box so that kids would learn to be able to jump off and on the box in a soft play area and stuff like that. They'll be able to climb over the box or under the box and stuff. So they're doing physical exploration because that's one of the remits of preschool education for children. They need to be able to explore their gross motor skills,
Yeah.
So,
how are your kids doing through this?
I mean, it's tough. We're all stuck in one house, you know what I mean? It's like my eldest, he graduated from university last year. My middle daughter, she's doing her second year of university. She hasn't gone back to university because it's closed at the moment, so there's no point in her going back yet. And then my youngest is going stir crazy, like being, getting cabin fever, being locked up in the house. We'll try and get him out a little bit and, do various bits and pieces. But, he's not a very physical child. The other two, they enjoy their activity. But yeah, the youngest one, he's very art based. So he loves to just sit and draw and, and make things and stuff. So trying to get him outside. He does like, he's not competitively oriented, but he does like moving for fun. So we try and just, everything has to be kind of like a fun game in that way to try and keep him engaged and stuff.
They don't try to take dad on then?
No. Dad plays a few jiu-jitsu games with him because he has to once a week, but it's like, it lasts a little bit of time. He actually gets quite good at certain things, but it has to be games and put into context. And
as you're changing the subject, how is your jiu-jitsu going?
Well, I mean, it was going great. It was going great, and then lockdown happened, and then
it's BJJ, right? BJJ, isn't it? Brazilian, yeah. And then when lockdown released, we had a small bubble of guys that were self-isolating at home. They were just by themselves at home, so they would come and we do a little bit of training at the clinic because it was safe and clean. But then since the proper lockdown happened, then we've had to stop it again for until about March. So it's been a bit of a shame, but yeah. I mean, like, fortunately, my coach gave me all the tools to be able to develop my own practice, and like you would hope when you get to brown belt level, then at least you can organize your own practice and development. Is that the one before black belt in?
Yeah. So that's what we've been doing, and I guess my games, it's coming along nicely. I find that my training's changed to suit it, and it's worked really well. Everything for me now is just about keeping myself mobile enough, strong at end ranges. Obviously, doing some strength work through the basic fundamental movements, and it's pretty much kept me injury free. I don't get injured much at jiu-jitsu, but it's a combination of, in my opinion, it's experience. So like with any sport or martial art, it's like the more experienced you are, the less you recognize the signs sooner to be able to stop yourself from getting injured, or that kind of thing, or you can avoid certain situations which are more likely to get you injured anyway.
Do you know what what I used to say, the worst day or the most dangerous time as a martial arts practitioner was when you have to roll or work with someone new.
Yeah.
Like someone's just come in, they've done maybe a couple of sessions, and you've got to go with them, and then until my coach, my sensei said to me, no, that is your ultimate learning lesson, which will teach you how to be a good practitioner. You have to work with the newbies because that will teach you. And I was like, oh yeah, you're so right.
Yeah.
You know? But
True.
they can hurt you so bad.
Well, like what I find how they can hurt you. It's just it's just an accidental headbutt or being kicked in the face or doing this. You know what I mean? And like, you know what? I'm fine with being kicked in the face because, like, it's a martial art, and that's what you're doing. And striking background previously anyway. But it's just more a case of it's just more a case of just trying to make sure that they're calmer and trying to learn rather than just trying to like use whatever natural gifts they have to try and get on top, and it's stripping away the ego initially when you have the beginners. And to be honest, I mean, like what we do during the sessions, or when I was teaching classes, and I was teaching a lot of beginners from the clinic when classes were open. It's just like narrowing down the drills so that there isn't too much room to it's making it more specific drills first of all, especially for them, because it's like training, isn't it? It's like when you go when you have a beginner and they have absolutely no concept about what the art of a sport is about, then you have to give them a little bit of guidance. And so I might just go, right, you're just going to stay on your knees, and I'm just going to push you or pull you from various directions, and you've got to see if you can stay on your knees, basically. So if you make it more of a narrow concept, and then you're teaching them basic things like base and posture, and like just learning how to stay or be familiar with the fact that you're just going to be tugged around and pushed and pulled around. And so, it's that kind of immersion theory initially, and then we gradually immerse them more deeply into the whole process, so that you get to a point of sparring. So it ends up being safer.
Do you think when people start in martial arts, any kind of martial arts really, when they walk into the dojo and they say, I want to sign up for a 12-week starter package or whatever, or I just want to try a couple, do you think, I don't know whether they do now, maybe they do, I don't know, but do you think that people should be given some kind of movement screen or something to kind of ascertain at what level they are? And do you think that the martial arts instructors should perhaps give them something to work on as well as their conditioning, as well as their movement, for the throws and locks and pins and strikes? Do you think there should be anything like that in martial arts?
I think this is what I think, especially because the reality of it is that, and I'm sure you've seen this, is unfortunately nowadays, especially in the world that we live in, it's about learning how to balance the what is safe and what should happen with commercial viability. Because the amount of people that would go, right, you can do boxing, but you're going to have to do this safety protocol for the next 4 weeks and practice all of these things, it's not going to happen.
No.
But what I do think should happen personally is that instructors should be screened on safety, or they should be able to learn or see some sort of visual assessment tool, so that when they see someone coming in for the first time and then they put them into the drills, and there should be possibly a specific set of drills familiar with that sport, okay, in terms of, it could be like with jiu-jitsu, it just could be, right, show me this forward roll, show me this backward roll, show me these movements. And if there's something grossly wrong with their movement after about 3 to 4 weeks
Yeah.
of trying to do that, then the instructor should be knowledgeable enough to basically go, I think you should go see this person, okay? Because I think they can help. And it serves them and it serves that person, because the first thing that you don't want is the new practitioner coming in. You don't want them injured before they actually get anywhere.
Right? Yeah, I mean, you could even start, like, you could have a movement practitioner who's assigned to the martial arts class, who runs the class 3 or 4 or 5 times a week and has 10, 20 people in there practicing movements so that you can get better at your martial arts, right?
Yeah. I mean, in my opinion, I think the schools that are big enough and successful enough, what they do is they have beginners programs. So that kind of eradicates the need for that. Do you see what I mean? It's more for the type of classes where you just have all levels all in one class, and then it's a bit more of a challenge. Do you see what I mean? Okay, so, you know, like, there are a few variety of strategies that you can use to kind of address the issue, but yeah, it wouldn't do any harm for instructors to be able to see, like, you know, like, and the way that you do it is you just go to, you know, some of the best in the industry for their various different martial arts, going, right, what are the fundamental movements that they need to be able to do? Okay, and then you watch them and go, right, what's the basics for that? And then, you know, they should have, they should be able to, I think it could even just be like a video of some sort for instructors to go, right, these are the basics, these are the fundamentals.
Yeah.
They can't do this after 4 weeks because a lot of it's adaptation, isn't it? So people adapt after 4 weeks, then cool. They're, you know, things are going on smoothly and they're able to progress. If things aren't, and they see that something is grossly wrong with that movement pattern, but it just requires the instructor or the person taking the class to have a good, at least some sort of knowledge to know when to outsource what they're doing. And it does serve both purposes, because the instructor keeps their student because they don't get injured. The student most probably values the instructor because the instructor is going, look, there's something that I think needs to be addressed. And unfortunately, it's not within the remit of the class to be able to help you with that. Okay. I'd recommend you to just go see this guy. He's been practicing this martial art for so many years. Okay. He understands the sport. He'll take you through a movement screen, and then he'll find a useful solution to help you progress onto the other bits and pieces. In the meantime, my personal recommendation as the instructor would be, right, we're just going to hold you off from any sort of kind of crazy sparring at the moment, because you know what, if someone can't even touch their knees from bending forwards, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is not really going to be a great sport for you, if you see what I mean. Yeah, because like your back's just going to take so much strain. Yeah, because you don't have, like, you know, you get that. If you can't barely touch your knees, you're 70 kilos, and you get the 120 kilo guy and he just lifts you up and stacks you right onto your back. Something's might hurt, it might not, but we don't really want to leave it to chance, just from a safety factor.
When you see someone come into the dojo, or someone new, and they're not moving very well, you can tell that they've got problems and they're trying to do this work week after week. Do you ever look at people and go, you know, they're definitely going to have a problem at some point? You can see it kind of just sitting there waiting to happen. I mean, I've done that. I'm guilty of that. I wouldn't say anything to anyone unless they asked, but do you ever do that? Do you ever look at people? I mean, I do. When they're out running, I look at their running and go, yeah, can't help it.
But the thing is that, look, I mean, like, it's a question of, number one, it's a question of volume. It's a question of intensity. And it's a question of, well, what are they doing their art and their sport for, if you see what I mean? Because, you know what, if I have someone and you look at their running form, but they're only running like a couple of miles a couple of times a week, okay, it's not really going to do them that much damage. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the reality of it, because, you know, a couple of miles a week, twice a week, and they're doing other bits and pieces for themselves just to keep themselves in some sort of, like, it just to work their mental sanity. If someone goes out for a run twice a week just to help with their mental sanity and, you know, and their emotions, then, you know, But if they come to me and you see them running, and there may be a biomechanical issue with their running, and they're going, yeah, I want to do the I want to do the London Marathon, then I go, okay, well, let's see how far your body can. Because you know what?
Which year do you want to do it?
Yeah, exactly.
2025, maybe.
Yeah, possibly. But I mean, there's always anomalies out there. I've seen people with like what would we call less than ideal biomechanics for running, and they don't get injured, but they're not trying to break world records for their marathon. They're like, I spoke to them and they're like, they're quite happy doing 4.5 hours for a marathon. They just enjoy the process for themselves. Yeah. And being injured, it's like, you know what? I'm not going to mess with what they have. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, if you have someone that's breaking down all the time, then, there's, number one, you go, well, is everything solid enough for the purpose? In other words, is the actual timber built enough for it, first of all? You see what I mean?
Mm.
Yeah. So is the bone density strong enough? Is the cartilage integrity strong enough? Are the ligaments and the tendons, have they been developed enough? And
what would you do if you didn't think someone's bone density was good enough?
Well, you can start them off on weight training.
Yeah.
All right. If they don't, if they don't have fundamentals for basic, if they can't even do a body weight squat, then I'll get them to do a body weight squat. If they can't do a body weight lunge, then I'll get them to do a body weight lunge.
Because there's a lot of women, particularly, that suffer from osteoarthritis, especially in their 40s upwards. I could be wrong on this, but it is predominant in that kind of age group. And I wonder if, do you think that is a lack of perhaps hard work? Not in the sense that they're not working hard, running a house and doing everything like that. I'm talking about actually like lifting and improving your bone density, your ligaments, tendons, things like that as you get older.
Well, this is the funny thing. Like osteoarthritis is actually what they discovered over the last 10 years through research is that osteoarthritis is actually a disease of overactivity. So
really?
When you're a professional footballer, okay, and they're just running themselves ragged, and then especially back in the old days, then you know what? It's a disease. It's a predisposition of overactivity, and I mean excessive overactivity. And overactivity is basically you're doing too much activity that the body can regenerate and recover from. Okay, that's what you're doing. Okay, and then it's also a disease of underactivity. So the reality of it is that you as a human being need to find out what your sweet spot of activity is. Okay, and if it's for health that you're trying to do it. If it's for performance, then it's a different thing, because it's we work with a lot of athletes at our clinic, and if I say I go to a Olympic long jumper going, look, I can train you to jump and make sure that we rehab you to a point where you're never going to get an injury, and when you retire, your knees and your hips and everything will be great. Okay, you'll jump 0.5 meter shorter. Okay, I don't know any professional athlete that's going to say, yeah, I'll take that. Do you see what I mean?
No way. They'll be out the door.
Well, yeah, because you got to realize is that they're like one of the things that they've made, they're making a slight acceptance in their mind as a professional athlete is I will do what it takes and possibly sacrifice parts of my body to be the number one athlete in the world. Yeah. And they make that willing call sometimes because they want to be the best that they can be. So, even though there's great aspects of professional sport, there are also mindsets within professional sport, which is not healthy if you're thinking purely about health as a human being.
Now, going back to the osteoarthritis, I think we're both agreed these things are reversible in certain circumstances, certain cases. So could you give me an example of how you would, just a very brief, quick idea, because somebody might be listening who's got osteoarthritis in their knees, hips, shoulders, in the neck. You know, what would you do with somebody who is suffering from a lack of movement and strength, which has perhaps brought in this weakness and arthritis, and somebody who has done a lot, like myself, I've done a lot of training and I've got a lot of damage in my knees and things like that. So what would you do for someone in those kind of circumstances, Ray? What's the differences? What would you do?
I mean,
Just to put you on the spot there, Ray.
put me on the spot. I mean, I guess the first thing you do, especially with something it's just like initially for the person that's under moving, is get them moving first of all, however they want to move. Okay, and then I mean, if you're doing it on a structured basis, then as a therapist, the first thing that I want to do is just get them to we'll work more kind of functional range conditioning principles first of all, which is, can they just move their joint in 360 ranges of motion, or find out as far as they can in which direction they can go and in which direction they can't go. And like the very first thing is awareness and just reconnecting back into their body. And there's the one thing that I'll say as well is that osteoarthritis is a bit more complex than what people realize, because there's loads of people, if you a scan that shows osteoarthritis doesn't necessarily mean that that person's living with a lot of pain. Okay, there's been lots of research that has actually shown that there's people that are scanned, they have the presence of osteoarthritis, but they can pretty much move their joint in most ways, and they function, and the pain is, they have some stiffness in the morning, but it's not significant for them. So it is down to individuality to a certain degree, because pain is so simple. It's not a complex. It's not a simple thing to explain in that sense. And the crux of it is that if that person's brain basically doesn't see or feel that the osteoarthritis is anything of a real threat, then the levels of pain that they'll feel will be significantly less into their body. They might have the odd crack or the odd crunch or whatever and stuff, but there's I listened to a story by one of he's a jiu-jitsu legend, and his name is Renzo Gracie.
Yeah.
Okay. He talks about one of the guys that he trains with, who specializes in a specific technique in Brazilian jiu-jitsu called the half guard. And the guy's called Gordo. And he's talking like Gordo for the last, I don't know, however many years, he's been training Brazilian jiu-jitsu with no ACL in one of his knees. Okay?
Yeah, I've heard things like this before, yeah.
And he can happily train. But it's really funny, the stories that Renzo kind of puts in, because he kind of literally says, yeah, I'm training with Gordo, and Gordo just tells me, hold on a second, I think my knee's out, and kind of like relocates his knee and then carries on sparring and stuff like that.
Yeah. I've had clients in the past who said, yeah, my ACL's shot, it's gone. And yet they're doing some form of sport, and I'm like, how the hell are you doing it?
Because it's you've got to realize that pain, we're going into a little bit of pain science, but ultimately, if your brain at a conscious and a subconscious level doesn't deem that that change into your body to be any sort of real threat, the level of pain that you will feel in that area will be significantly reduced. There may be a bit of mild sensitivity, okay, or some sensitivity. It's like, when you twist your ankle and you kind of or if you've twisted your ankle and you just sit on the sofa and the ankle might be swollen, but if you don't move it, it's fine. And and you might even move it a little bit and it's okay, but it's just but then when you poke it and prod it, it's sensitive. Do you see what I mean? But it's not like searing chronic pain that you're constantly getting all the time or anything like that. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, I mean, that's one of the things that we educate, like, you know, that's one of the areas that I've been moving a lot more into, is kind of helping lots of patients, particularly online, with like issues of constant and chronic pain, and, you know, like getting to like, you know, I'm sure you see lots of patients and you look at their scans and they're actually, there's nothing horrendous about their scan, but they've still got lots of pain, and it's a complex issue. And so, you know, I've been like, especially over lockdown last year, like been treating a lot more patients like that, especially online, and it's been great. It's different learning experience, different work with different people.
What you're saying, it's like a brain thing. It's like a, is it, you know, I'm stammering because pain science is such a deep thing, and I'm not the best with it. But there certainly are instances, aren't there, Ray, where people are reporting pain, and there's, like you said, there's no substantial reason through any scans or even with palpation and movement to bring on that pain and make it any worse. And so there's a nervous system feedback loop, perhaps, or how would you?
But you've got to realize this, that like from the pain science perspective, okay, well, just pain, like just from the science perspective, okay, pain doesn't happen anywhere else apart from in the brain.
Yeah.
Okay, because like there's like one of the most famous or most well-known pain scientists. He's a gentleman called Lorimer Moseley, and he would go, look, if pain was present within the actual body part where you've got the problem, then technically you could remove the limb where the pain is in, and you'd have no more pain again. Okay, and we know that's not true because there's
phantom limb
pain.
Yeah, phantom limb pain. Yeah.
So like people have got to change their perspective about what pain is, and actually an easier way to identify it is that pain is actually a conscious emotion. All right, and and pain becomes present within the brain when your brain makes a conscious or a subconscious decision for the need to protect either your whole person or the part of or a part of your body. So you feel pain when your brain, consciously or subconsciously, feels the need to protect a part of your body. That's the crux. That's the most simple way that I can kind of explain it.
Yeah.
Like the decision, like, but the basis behind how those decisions are made are complex. So, you know, like your belief system, your psychological state, the you know, the sensitivity of your nervous system, okay, the you know, the
everything basically. I mean, sleep, nutrition.
Yes.
I've even seen studies where color has affected the pain levels of the patient. They sit in a white room or a yellow room or a green room or a black room, and that can change things as well.
The emotive response, you've got to realize that the brain works by association. So that's how our brain works. It works by association. It tries to compare previous experiences to the current experience.
How changing the subject, how much going on to, let's touch on the placebo side of things. There are thousands of practitioners across the country, across the world, of various different types. How much do we think, or how do you understand it, that placebo, in believing, so you're believing in the person that's treating you, you're bought into what they're going to do. How much do you think that is a success with clients? I mean, do you think it's a big part of why people get better, that placebo factor, or is it a small part?
It's a huge part. I mean, like, but I don't like to call it placebo, because at the end of the day, if you're changing a person's need to protect within their brain, that's not really a placebo, because you remember, pain's in the brain. Okay? Yeah. So, you know, like,
we need another word for it then, Ray.
What's that?
We need another word for not placebo.
Well, it's just it's like I think people need to we're going into kind of contemporary like philosophy here, because the reality of it is the more I study and the more I understand about the human body,
The less you know.
The less I know,
Yeah.
and the less you want to separate mind and body.
Very true. Very
Just
true.
because there's nothing wrong with the body doesn't mean that the mind doesn't like we talk about, like you read in the literature, there's things in your mind, like think about it this way, there's crazy things, an emotional response can cause an inflammatory cascade in the body. So, you know, like, and we call that neurogenic inflammation. The nerves can actually cause inflammation into the body. So we can have a thought that processes through our mind. It can create stress response in the brain. It can create a hormonal response, and it can also create, you know, a neurological response. And that neurological response could possibly create inflammation in the body. So how is that not relevant? Do you see what I mean? And so I think we need to move away as therapists, and I don't want to make it more complex, but you do have to respect the interrelation between mind and body. And I don't think as a treatment protocol, you should separate the two. But as stages within treatment, you do need to separate the two, because you need to think, right, I'm going to, like, you know, someone's got a swollen ankle, so I want to reduce the inflammation around the ankle. I want to obviously start to readdress the healing response. So that's the physical thing. But then I might actually give an exercise to go, right, all I want you to do is very, very, very small circles with your ankle. I don't want you to cause any pain. I want you to do all of this. And this does all the good stuff in terms of, you know, start to increase the blood supply, start to pump some of the inflammation away, start to be able to get the nerves working again, the motor neurons working. You know, you get all of these, you might get some resetting of the sensory nerves. So in other words, the sensitivity of the area start to reduce because you're starting to move it and everything. So from a local level, you know, from all of the stuff that we're talking at school is great. But what about the psychological level of you just making that person work within a very small sphere, and they're starting to go, oh, actually, it's okay to move my ankle a little bit again. That has huge value, because if pain is a protective response and you're making them move their ankle pain-free, but just really, really small, suddenly you're starting to subconsciously get them more confident about the fact that they can use that body part again. And if you get them more confident about using that body part again, aren't you going to be reducing the need for the brain to protect that area? So can you see, it's like you just got to think a little bit more like it's one of the things, and like I've created a new kind of clinical reasoning model, and I teach it to all of the guys that, you know, they get, like, all of the guys that work at my clinic, all of us, they get mentored every week. And, you know, they're starting to be taught my new kind of clinical reasoning model, so that people start to realize, okay, there's not just one reason for fixing things. It's not just about getting the ligament stronger, but there's a brain thing. There's an intermediary. There's a neurological thing, not just kind of, because brain, like when we talk about brain, it might be emotional response, or like a conscious response, or a confidence response. That is a neurological thing, but it's more, you know, it's more of a processing of thoughts and emotions, and so that I'll call that a brain thing. But there is also the neurological thing in terms of how the nerves, the motor and the sensory nerves respond, okay, to the process, and you are addressing it from that perspective. And then you are also addressing things from a cellular perspective as well. So, you know, you can talk, like, like, I'm just, at the clinic now, we engage a lot in discussion of all three things of when we're fixing people, not just, right, let's just get the tendon all right. Because as you're saying before, people are being scanned and it might be post-rehabilitation and the tendon looks fine, it's well, but they're still getting loads of pain in the tendon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you just address the cellular stuff, but you haven't addressed maybe the other two, the brain thing and, the neurological aspect of it, then yeah, they might still be getting pain because you haven't addressed the brain's need. You haven't removed the brain's need to protect that area.
What you're going to get now is a load of therapists and trainers going out there doing, learning how to fix the brain.
You know what? But that's what you, as a good therapist.
Yeah, I have touched on that. Yeah.
Like, you know what? Just listening to your patient.
Even learn. I have books on hand that.
Yeah.
That's more about pain, but I think something that helped me with a lot of clients is NLP.
Yeah.
Neuro linguistic programming. I did a couple of short courses on that, went through it myself, and I found that helped a lot of clients when we weren't getting good results. I'd go through a series of different explanations, and then, like you said, suddenly things. I mean, one of the best ones was what I tell clients to do is, they come in for a bad knee, and we have 3 or 4 sessions. We've only got a 10% reduction, which isn't quite as much as you want, perhaps. So I tell them to stop thinking about their bad knee, and every time your mind goes towards the bad knee, I want you to think about the good knee.
Yeah.
And that's all I want you every day. Just every time you will walk in, say, my knee's feeling good. I'm feeling good on that knee. My knee's feeling great. And you know what? Their perception, their mind goes away from the pain and focuses on something positive. And I tell you, it changes people.
Yeah.
Just that little trick.
And that's exactly it. What you're doing is you're basically just making their brain feel that there's not a need to protect that knee anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, like, it's so important, and it needs, if you want to do a comprehensive rehabilitation for people, you need, like, long term.
Yeah.
Then you want to address that, and you want to help people long term. Like, I kind of, it's funny because whenever I do my initial consultation with patients, I always equate osteopaths, physios, and chiropractors to like car mechanics.
Yeah.
In the sense that if you keep taking your car back to the same car mechanic for the same problem once a week or once 6 months, okay, then you need to think about maybe is the car mechanic actually doing the job for you? Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
I would say the same thing for an osteopath, chiropractor, and physiotherapist. With certain conditions aside, because for me, fixing people's injuries means that it's fixed. You can do whatever you want again, and it's fixed. Like, I don't like that attitude of, right, we fixed your knee, but I don't really think you should run again. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To me, not fixing. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah. Do you like to keep people, even if they have a bad knee, do you like to get them to do, would you encourage them to do some form of exercise, as long as it's not, what's the word? As long as it's not aggravating the situation?
Yeah.
Keep them out, swimming.
Yeah. I'm a movement chauvinist, Neil. Okay. Yeah. You've got to you've got to really encourage people to move. But the way that I find that is important to try and encourage people to move now is to try and find their genuine interest in what they like to do, or get them to, like, I feel people don't move because they're not confident in moving and they don't know where to start. And that is another reason to go see a professional, because then you're in the guidance and the care of someone that goes, you know what, why don't we just start with this? Okay. And, you know, it's the other thing as well is I have also known people like, you know, I've also trained and worked with patients and clients where the initial experiences as a youngster when they're a child was negative with regards to movement. And it's like, I just think that movement should be for everyone, and they've just got to find what works for them. You know, like that to me, like it's about finding, again, it's about finding your truth, and also like learning the value, because I don't know anyone when they engage in some form of movement that's authentically enjoyable to them, that it does not make them feel better.
Oh yeah, I mean, dancing is the absolute. I mean, obviously, a few, you know, a few alcoholic beverages help sometimes, but dancing immediately brings. It's like music, isn't it? Dancing and music immediately brings out this.
And so, you know what, like, you know, like there's always something for everyone. There's like, I mean, you know, like it doesn't have to be Zumba, but you know, you like it's just, again, it's finding your own truth, and it's finding what you want to do. And if you start to get hooked or enjoy the movement, then it starts to express itself to other things. It's like, I know people that started yoga and they're suddenly going, I really want to learn how to do a headstand, or I want to do a handstand now, because they want it to improve their yoga practice. Do you see what I mean?
Have you ever tried capoeira?
Yeah, I did that a long time ago now. Yeah, I did about 2-3 years of it.
That's seriously hard stuff. I tell you, I know this guy who went round the world. He's actually quite well known. I'm not going to mention his name, but he went around the world testing every single martial art. He did lots and lots of different types of martial arts. He was an MMA fighter, and he swears that capoeira is one of the toughest things he ever did, ever.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it's.
But it was a particular style as well. He picked on one particular style of it. I can't remember what it was, but it was yeah.
There's two versions of capoeira. One of them's called regional, which is the kind of flamboyant, jumpy one, and then there's another one which is called Bahia. So it's like, and it's no, Angora, not Bahia, because Bahia is a state in Brazil. It's Angora, and so it's a lot slower. It's much more interactive. I mean, like in terms of an actual martial arts, one of the most beautiful martial arts kind of human connection, because it's quite cooperative. You really have to watch, listen, and respond to your opponent. And
is it really any good, you know, in a fight?
I mean, like, you know what, the reality of it is that like one of my jiu-jitsu students, actually, he I can't remember the name of the book, but it was an excellent book, because what it did is it categorized the martial arts into kind of like 4 different aspects of it. And people learn martial arts for 1 of 4 reasons. That's what this book basically said. Okay, the first reason is spiritual, because martial arts now is like, there's so many martial arts which is a spiritual practice, you know. And then there's then they do martial arts for fitness. Okay, then they do martial arts for combat sport reasons. Okay, and then you have the true martial aspects of the martial arts. Okay? So like the one thing that I think people should do is they should need to find out, well, what aspect of martial art, if you ever want to do a martial art, what aspect of martial arts do you want to engage within it? Because I'll be honest with you, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, the way it's presented now in the sport format, I wouldn't say hugely martial. Do you see what I mean? But there are aspects of it which is martial, definitely. And and then again, what context is it martial? Because Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is very, very good for just one-on-one, if you're thinking about the martial aspect. But suddenly, if you have a room full of like 5 people and I start, I pull someone and take them down to the floor, what's to say that my head's not going to get kicked in by his mate?
Oh yeah.
You see what I mean? While I'm on the floor. So, there has to be an element of intelligence with what you're trying to do. And the reality of it is that you look at the best kind of purely martial systems and they're not very long. It's like, like maybe 6 months. And, I can't really teach the pick up the rock from the floor and smash someone over the head technique. Can you imagine what it'd be like just to like go, you go, right, we're going to have the rock smashing head technique today. All right, everyone pick up their rocks.
Put your helmet on.
Partner there and just, it's like.
You learned that at school.
Yeah.
That's what you learn at school. In fact, you learn how to fight like Bruce Lee said at school. It's like fingers in the eyes, grabbing everything, punching everything. Yeah. Like when you're at school, that's probably one of the only times in your life, unless you get into some trouble later on. But that's the one time when you really do, when you're younger, you actually sometimes you have these fights that are just like crazy. I can remember doing some really horrible things. I mean, I threw a dart at my brother once. Boom, that's the sort of things that would happen, and someone would just pick up a bottle and throw it.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about people in pubs bottling each other. I'm talking about young kids just having a fight, getting a bit crazy, 10, 11 years old, and you do those crazy things, don't you?
Yeah, and so it's like I moved away from a lot of the martial aspect of it because like the reality of it it wasn't a nice place to be. And I also realized as well that actually detecting where trouble was the best form of self-defense, but knowing a few things about how to help yourself. I mean, like if you want to learn about self-defense, then you know what? Do a little bit of boxing so that you're used to someone throwing a punch at you. Okay? Yeah. And then do a little bit of jiu-jitsu or wrestling so you're used to someone trying to grab hold of you. Okay? And then, mix that maybe with a few kind of like military self-defense techniques. Keep it very, very simple. Okay? Yeah. And Bob's your uncle, if you see what I mean.
I mean, honestly, the best martial artists I've ever known in my life, and I've known quite a lot of good martial artists, are some of the guys that were standing on nightclub doors week in, week out for years. They're the best martial artists because, not all of them, but quite a few, especially the old school ones, they can control their adrenaline. And once you can control your adrenaline, all you need is a few good punches and you're pretty much done with like 99% of everybody. I've seen it. I worked on the doors myself for a couple of years, so I absolutely 100% know most people fall to pieces. And I've known really good martial artists get battered within 2 seconds. Done. And actually, one of my clients once, he was a beast of a guy. Like he should have been on World's Strongest Man or something, but he was a really big guy. And he worked as a doorman in Kent somewhere. And he'd knocked out, he said, about 1,000 people in his career. He was quite proud of it. And he said, that's my career, Neil. That's what I do. And all the way through his career, his 10 years or whatever he'd been doing it, he just said, these 2 punches, that's it. And he said there was only one time when one person got back up after those 2 punches. He said he was a Russian guy and he was a beast of a fella. And he hit this guy, knocked him down, and the bloke got back up and come towards him. And he ran. He didn't stay there to fight him. He ran because he knew in the real world, a couple of punches, you're done. If someone gets up from that, bye-bye. Sayonara, see you later.
But the thing, the other thing as well though is that like for me, true self-defense is also when can you defend yourself when you're ambushed? that's that. Do you see what I mean? It's easy to
surprise,
see the heat and or see the steam in the fight, and then and most of these street self-defense people, they're very good at surprise. That's what you're saying. That, you know, that's what happened. But it's, for me, it's the reality of self-defense is when people are truly ambushed, and then they know what to kick in, because that's reality. But then you've got to realize that there's so many mistakes that were made beforehand, before they were ambushed. Do you see what I mean? And so,
well, like like you touched on, my sensei, well, one of my senseis always said to me, before it happens, I've already gone.
Yeah.
Because he said he could, you know, and you do. Once you've been doing this stuff a long time, you can sense, read the body language of people and what's going on in a place, and you just know when it's, maybe that's a bit of experience as well, I don't know, but your own senses will tell you things are about to go pear-shaped very, very quickly. It's usually when the hairs are standing up on your back of your neck. No, actually, by then it could be too late. So I've done it. I've been in a place with my missus before and said, like, I'm not feeling it here, there's something, and we're going, and then you find out it kicked off, you know.
And so, you know, it's I genuinely don't touch on that aspect of martial too much anymore. But I do, you know, again, I get, you know, I'll get my guys in my class just to play a few games. You know, I'll have one guy, what he's trying to do is he's just trying to slap around the head the other guy, and they're standing up in some sort of judo pose.
What class is that, right?
Right, when we were able to do it, the jiu-jitsu classes.
Oh, you're teaching, are you?
Yeah.
I didn't know you was a teacher.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, when I opened the clinic, I started up some small Brazilian jiu-jitsu classes. There was a fantastic instructor that was teaching. It was a guy called Abel Martinez, and then he signed a contract to teach a school down the road. And so I started looking for another instructor, because back at that time I was a purple belt, and then, you know, I couldn't find anyone. And my instructor, my coach, he goes, look, why don't you teach, Ray? So I taught, and then just as a purple belt, there was a small group of about 4 or 5 of us, okay, and we were doing well, and then got my brown belt and started opening out the classes a little bit more. And that's what we, unfortunately, last year it kind of stopped for obvious reasons, and hope to start it up again at one point or another.
Awesome. Dude, listen, we've been here for a long time. It's like 5:30 now.
Oh, crikey.
So we've nearly done like the best part of an hour and a half. So like, is there anything you wanted to in particular get over before we kind of wrap up, right?
No, it's just nice to have a chat, Neil. It's just nice to see how you're doing, and just to catch up and you know, talk shop a little bit as well. It's always good fun to do that.
Yeah, and look, sometimes, you know, my questioning has to come across not in perhaps the way that I would always normally talk to you, because I'm trying to do a show and I have to get points over to people who don't understand. So I'm always going to play dumb, play devil's advocate, things like that sometimes as well. Yeah. So, you know, I forgot to say that right at the start. Like, sometimes don't talk to me like you know that I know stuff.
Yeah.
But it's just the way it is. But yeah, it is better that we just have a chat, and that's what this is about. It's just about having a chat, and it's about seeing where people are and sharing that, and your experiences of that with other people. It gets your profile out there a bit as well, so people go, oh, well, you know, Ray does rehab. He's over in, whereabouts in London are you?
John's Wood.
So say again.
St John's Wood.
St John's Wood. So it's
Evolution Rehab.
Evolution Rehab. So, but you train people as well as do the rehab, don't you, Ray?
Yeah, like we say, we take people from broken to brilliant. Broken to brilliant. That's what it used to do, you know.
Is that your catchphrase?
No,
it should be. I'm going to use that though on the thing. I think broken to brilliant.
Yeah, do that. That's absolutely fine. But yeah, that's what we do. And you know, we like I'm trying to push it now. Like there's a concept that we're using at the moment, which we call sustainable fitness, and it's about keeping people moving and staying healthy and finding their truth to all of it for the long term, rather than just kind of like getting the rush for a 12-week transformation program, process, and then it all kind of goes downhill from there, if you see what I mean.
I so like that idea, yeah.
You know, so like, you know what? I love the 12-week transformation process to get people just engaged, but then come to us after that and you'll learn the tools of how to make sure that you can fit and absorb movement and a better lifestyle into your own life.
I think that's quite good. That like the message that you're giving over, Ray, is not only do you have like a basic like not basic, but an education in the standard kind of way of getting people healthy and fit. And I know you've gone on to do lots and lots and lots of other different modalities that help people, but then you're fitting that into their life and what they want to do, and really integrating that. I think that's a really awesome idea. Rather than just saying you need to go to the gym and do this, this, and this, you're actually working around that individual, aren't you?
Yeah, and like it has to be that. And so, you know, it's all in the name of like our new kind of training program, which is called our sustainable fitness program.
Yeah,
and it's about just helping as many people as possible.
do you do that online as well, Ray? Is that an online thing?
Like at the moment it's face to face, or like, you know, and or one-to-one online consultation.
Okay.
But we will hopefully be rolling out a kind of online package when.
So like if somebody came to you and said, look, I've got a bit of a bad back, you know, I've had it for a few years. I can't afford to come in to the actual practice. I live further away. Am I able to do a consultation with you and follow a program or something?
That's
yeah.
exactly it. So
Okay.
yeah, like when they sign up for the sustainable fitness program, there's they get an ebook which explains the whole process. They've got all of their exercises. There'll be a very basic nutrition program going, look, just try and do this. And then the purpose of the interaction, if they want to understand the nutrition, is they if it's an online thing, one of their online sessions, will discuss what they need to do. And then it's tailored to them. So it's about us, first of all, finding out what their regime and their routine is, what they can and what they can't do. So sure. It can't be, at the moment, it can't be quite standardized because everyone's different. Everyone has different needs. Okay. There are certain fundamentals that people need to find, and that's what we're trying to educate people, first of all. But how they fit it into their life is down to them. And, you know, there's different ways of exercising as well. And I guess the process is really trying to, first of all, teach people to really understand themselves, because you've got to find out what you like, what you don't like, how you like to do things, or what fits into your life best. Okay. And, you know, how can we make it authentically enjoyable and you know, like specifically suited to you? That's the most important thing. And we can't, you know, we don't create a specific one-to-one specific program, but what we will do is help you find and give you the tools to be able to work that out for yourself, obviously with some practical guidance when we're doing it, and, you know, some technical guidance when it comes to learning how to do the movements and the exercise for the exercise program and stuff as well.
Well, I think we'll end on that note, Ray, because that's you know, I think what I also like about you and you guys is that you do have this really deep knowledge of movement training, repairing, nutrition, the brain, you have all of this that integrates into someone's lifestyle, and you don't have to be this super techie person in a white coat with a clipboard. You're just down to earth, and you talk normally, and just how people would understand it. Because I think with a lot of people, it just go straight over their head. They haven't got a clue what the physio said to them. You know, they come out of a session, it's like, oh, the physio said blah blah blah, and it's like they've got no idea. Or a chiropractor, you know, I need to adjust L1 and do that. So
yeah, I mean, but isn't that's one of the things that I loved about, like, when you treat people, Neil, because you always ask people, well, did you get what I was asking you to do, and what you need? Why don't you tell me what you think I need you to do? And just even to the therapists, like, just asking your patient, what do you think you need to do, or what do you think I asked you to do? And then you get that disparity of communication.
I'll tell you what, Luke, my business partner, Luke Summers, is a great guy. He always used to do a really good one. He used to say to the client, look, if I could fix your knee, back, ankle, shoulder, whichever it is, in the next 12 weeks, seeing you once a week, he said, then I'm a genius. I'm an absolute genius. I really am. So your expectation, you need to do, and they would say, you would say to them, like, if you wanted to lose 2 stone, tone up, get stronger, get fitter, and go on, you know, on your beach holiday in the summer, how long would you sign up for a package with a personal trainer? Because if it was once a week, every 2 weeks, you ain't never going to lose the weight, tone up, and get stronger. It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen, right? Obviously, there's always a caveat, because someone's super smart and will get it done. But the majority of people can't. They've got to put a level of commitment into a program with a therapist, as you say, with your sustainable fitness program. You put a level of commitment, and then people are going to get better results, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, like, for us, the commitment is, you know, like, going, look, let's find a way for when I set you the tasks, and you get that done before I see you next time, you know. And and if there's things in the way of doing that, then, you know, the first thing you have to ask yourself, like, if you're the person wanting to do the program, is this the right time for me to do this program? Because there's a difference between what I want and what I'm able to do.
Do you ever sack clients?
I wouldn't say sack clients. What I've done is, when there's been a client where their life circumstance is too busy, I've actually said, look, if it's a treatment thing, come in. I'm here to support you with your pain until we get to a point where you can start to fix yourself. Okay? Yeah. Because the last thing I want to do, if they choose that they want to have the support, is take away all support from someone that's come to you, and they're coming to you because they want to get out of pain and they need support. Yeah. So the last thing I want to do is take away the support. But I think it's also the sensitivity of a therapist to actually go, you know what? Okay. I respect and understand that this might not be the right moment in time for you to try and do all of your tasks of fixing yourself. So we either try and slow it down a little bit, and then just realize that at least it will come later on at a slower pace, but you're going to be so much happier within yourself because you're not super stressed about the 1,000,001 things and trying to do stuff that I've given you done.
Yeah, you don't have to. Trying to change everything in one go can sometimes be it usually leads to failure, doesn't it? It's like when someone changes their diet, changes their lifestyle, changes their training. They do it for 6, 8, 10 weeks, and then it just all falls apart because they've tried too much.
And this is why I say, you know what? Do that 12-week transformation program. Come to us afterwards, okay? Because then we'll teach you how to fit it into your life and keep it going, okay? To a level. But, you know, and it's about making sure that your expectation and what you're willing to put in are matched. You can't have unrealistic expectations, but I go, okay, if you want that, but that's what going to this is what's going to, you know, like, and that's the one thing, is that we don't train people and we don't take people through to being able to do like 200 kilo squats or anything like that. Do you know what I mean?
No.
Because the level of commitment and dedication to doing that is not tenable for most average everyday people.
No.
But you know what? I can pretty much, what is tenable is I can get you to do at least your body weight squat sustainably and over. Okay. I mean, I'm not in a gym loads. I lift a barbell once a month. I can still do about body weight and a third. So I can do maybe about 120 kilo squat.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That's good.
I touch a barbell once a month.
Mm.
Okay. So all my other bits and pieces help me. I can still do all my body weight. I can pull up. I can do a 1-arm press up.
Well, I'll tell you, Ray, some of the things I've been watching, like, I mean, the bar calisthenics guys, and then I've been watching guys like ex-Marines and soldiers and people like David Goggins and his workouts, right? And the other day, I keep saying about it, one of his very few actual online training, he did a training circuit one day in some gym in Australia, and his first 10 minutes was just jumping jacks, right? And it was 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 3. He did like about 350, and all the people that were watching him that were doing, no, they were doing it along with him, they were just fried by the time they got to 50 or 100, right? And he was making them call out, and he said, you see me on social media, you think I'm just some big shot and I ain't really that good at what I do, and I've just fried the entire lot. Basically, that's what he's saying. He's just fried everybody with the first part of his training program, which was just jumping jacks. And I tell you, I tried it. Right? Oh, I got nowhere near 350, put it that way, because by the time I hit 100, and that wasn't all in one go either, non-stop, like, that was hard. That was hard on the body if you're not ready for it. So simplicity. After that, he did push-ups, he did lunges, squats, and more jumping jacks for an hour. And I tell you, he had a good time, right? Do you know the guy I'm talking about, David Goggins? Yeah. So, yeah, he had a good time. That was like a fun little workout for him. Everybody else was absolutely in pieces. And anybody out there, go and do that workout that David Goggins does in a gym in Australia. Find it on the internet. I guarantee, unless you're superhuman, you will be crying to stop, because it's unbelievable. And it's just a bodyweight workout, Ray. And there's this other guy. He's called Iron Wolf. And he's a Marine, American Marine, was American Marine, and he just does crazy stuff. He's very famous for his burpees, and he'll do like 8 count burpees, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Well, you just do a burpee workout. Anybody who knows what, people know what, but do a burpee workout, and it kills you. Yeah, absolutely, just burpees. Honestly, it just kills you. And look, you've done a lot of martial arts, and back in the day, me too. And I didn't need to do any weight training because like we would be on the mats doing duck walks, and I can remember my trainer making us lay on the floor. We used to take our gis off, and then you'd lay at one end of the hall, right, on the mats. This is across the mats, but it was quite long. And you'd take your gi off, and you'd just lay face down, and then you'd pull your arms over the top of you.
Yeah, and drag yourself across the floor.
Oh, my God, drag yourself across the floor. And he used to be standing there saying, no, you're using your elbows. Don't use this, don't use that, and don't wiggle. Well, use your elbows a bit, but honestly, it was so hard.
Yeah. No, well, you know what? It's like I saw a really lovely post by actually a lady that follows me, follows our Instagram page, and she said, what's the most underutilized home exercise equipment? Okay, and it's the floor. And we need to be, you know, like, I think more exercises on the floor, off the floor, sitting on the floor, doing all these bits and pieces. I think it would make a big difference to people's lives. If instead of just watching TV on the sofa, just grab a seat on the floor for 10, 15 minutes. And then you make that happen over like 4 to 6 weeks, and then see how your knees, your back and everything might be sore for the first week or two, but you go past that and, you know, like, it will make a difference. It will make a big difference. It's one of the things that we teach in the sustainable fitness program is teaching people how to sit on the floor and just increase their mobility just by sitting on the floor. But because it doesn't take any time out of your day, you can watch TV for half an hour and just start from there. Obviously, you can use some props just to make things a little bit more comfortable, and then, you know, start to take away the props. And tell me in 6 months, if you consistently sit on the floor for half an hour every day, that doesn't make a difference to your mobility in the lower body. And,
awesome.
Yeah.
That's a great tip. Great tip. Look, Ray, absolute pleasure seeing you and talking to you again. We'll have to catch up again soon. You know, we won't leave it too long. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, Neil. It's good to see you. It's been too long.
It has been too long. Keep yourself safe. Look after your family. You know, keep strong. Keep doing what you do, because we need people like you helping to fix people and driving whatever the next generation of therapists and movement people is going to be, because you'll be able to pass all that information on. So thanks, Ray. Thanks very much.
Brilliant, Neil. Thank you, buddy. And I'll catch up with you soon.
You look after yourself. Yeah. Take care. Give me one of those.
Big fist bump.
Yeah. Take care. See you later, buddy.
Yeah, Neil. See you later.
Bye. 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 Okay, so big thanks to my special guest there, Raymond Yong from where was he from? God blimey, I can't remember the name of his business. I've got to do it from memory because I didn't even write it down. Yeah, big thanks to Raymond Yong from Evo Rehab and Fitness. If you want to get in touch with him, just drop us a line here on the YouTube channel, on the podcast, and I'll certainly pass it on. Or just go and find his stuff over there at Instagram. Raymond Yong, Evo or Osteo Sports Rehab. Use any of those words and you'll find it. I'll try and put some links underneath anyway. Guys, as always, stay strong, be tireless, look after yourself and each other. If you found value in this podcast, in this YouTube podcast as well, then please like, share and subscribe. It really helps the channel, guys. It just gives us feedback to say that we're doing the right thing and you want to see more. You never know, it might be you that's on the show next. We're not just aiming for people because they are media stars or anything like that. We're looking for real down-to-earth people that have a really good message, that really want to help people, whether or not you want to help other rehab or sports professionals or personal trainers, or you just want to help people from, you know, general public. You want them to get better, you want them to get stronger, you've got a good message to get out there, a good vibe to get out there, then I'd like to hear from you, because I want to put that message out. So it build a community type thing, this momentum community, and we are momentum because we want to keep the movement going. Everything, life is movement, life is momentum. So that's what we want to do. Let's keep it going. Let's help people as much as we possibly can, guys. Okay. Take care. See you again soon. All the best. Bye-bye. Oosh.